Hello ladies and gentlemen and everybody else. Welcome back if you've been here before. It's time for AMA number 26. The day that I'm going to fly to Korea is approaching fast, and soon I'm going to have a different background. Hopefully I'm going to have my visa tomorrow by the time this is released, and then I'm gonna fly as soon as possible and hopefully be in Korea by the time we face Africa. It is very hot in Berlin, very humid. It's quite disgusting, honestly, but it is what it is. I am working hard with the team. We are practicing, we are scrimming, and we are doing as much as we can do remotely. And soon everything will begin for real. So I'm very excited. We're going to see what the future holds. If you have any questions, ask them on the YamatoCannon subreddit or the Discord or the Patreon. Let's jump into today's questions. Question number 1. Carboy 101. If you had to design a skin line, how would it look and what champions would you pick for it? Honestly, for the longest time ever, I just wanted to see like the reverse gender, you know? Like imagine like a male Kaiser or like a female Ezreal. That would be cool. I think it would take a lot of work because it would require a different voice actor, or maybe not, you know, who knows. Just to I think that type of a skin line would be cool because you can apply it easily to any hero. I think other than that, I'm not so creative. I'm trying to think of something that I miss. The only thing I can think of is pirates. Yarr, but there are a lot of pirates. And that's the extent of my creativity when it comes to design. Ayan Dima asks, once LCK split begins and you're balls deep into beating Faker, will you still be doing this AMA and other stuff for your humble servants? Honestly, this is cool. You know, this is cool. This doesn't take a lot of effort and time, and it's a good way to stay in touch. I don't use a lot of Twitter, Facebook. Who uses Facebook nowadays anyway? Instagram. I don't like to use social media too much because I don't want to clutter my mind, and it is easy to waste time on social media, so I try to avoid it. And this is a way for me to stay in touch. It only takes an hour, and it's fun for me to do. So as long as the questions aren't, you know, I don't know if this meme is still alive. I guess it is kind of, because TSM did in fact lose to Team Liquid. As long as there's no conflict of interest, and I will answer most of your questions. Sam Becker, how much different of a game would competitive LoL be if coaches were allowed to stay on stage and communicate with players throughout the game? I think I would be, personally, I would be very ready for this. Obviously not in Korea. That would be, like, this would be a ridiculous signing if this was the case. I wouldn't be able to shot call 5 Korean players to victory, but I think it would change dramatically. I think a lot of teams would go with the approach of having an actual player instead of a coach, so to speak, in this position, and it would be, and I think decision making would become a lot more precise, and you would have a lot more players that are mechanically talented but are not so good at decision making. I think you know, the idea of a shot caller would be real then, because I think in the current context of League of Legends, having one shot caller is just kneecapping yourself. Allowing everyone to be active in the decision making is better, and I think if you put all of that responsibility on one person, all of a sudden you would have deeper mechanical play and you know, great shot callers, so to speak, and I think it would drastically increase the level of gameplay. But at the same time, it's hard for me to know for sure if a 6th person would maybe just create a situation where you have too many cooks in the kitchen. That could happen too, right? Instead of 5 voices, you have 6 voices. But then again, communication would have to change drastically to accommodate a person that doesn't play, but it does in fact shot call. Like there's been scenarios in practice where I've pushed players in the right direction in order to learn habits. Sometimes when I see the practice is not moving in the direction that I want to move it in, I kind of give them a nudge. Okay guys, you need to focus on this in the middle of the game. just to make sure that the practice is actually nutritious. So I think it is an interesting prospect, and it would change a lot, but I definitely think gameplay eventually would level up. KSSNDS, I don't know if that's some abbreviation for something. If it's something bad, forgive me, but let's just jump into the question. How susceptible do you think Mad is to meta changes? I haven't seen many people discussing this in their rankings. Feels like it would be important since teams above them, near them in the rankings are a bit more experienced in terms of adjusting to patch. Definitely, this was a big question mark of mine. We've seen Mad Lions play now, and they had a pretty good weekend. They drafted some interesting things into Varus. I think I am a bit worried about Orome because he was very, he was always playing weak side last split, which is okay because this is what the meta was, and Mad Lions were very good at playing around bot lane, so it works, right? So you can't really complain about it. Even though Orome was dying a lot to ganks and wasn't really aware of when he should give up or not, he was kind of like a VC Chachi. But then you have, a very good week 1 performance from him on the Hecarim and other stuff. I think Orome is still the biggest question mark for me when it comes to that team. If it becomes a very top-heavy meta, can we see a world where Orome plays, for example, with Jace, Lucian, and so forth, and not only weak side? And these are always the questions when you look at Mad Lions. But I think they are very, very good at staying ahead of the curve, because even though the meta was, the meta shifted a lot in Spring Split, a lot, and I think Mad Lions definitely stood the test of time. So I think they'll be fine. Dunghaufen. Hey Amaro, I hope you're doing well. Have you ever had experience with mental health issues? If yes, how did you get out? What are you actively doing to stay mentally healthy, motivated, etc.? Meditation, mindset, whatever. Well, I think that, in general in life, it's very important to make sure that you have a good mental diet. I think the physical portion of our body is, of course, deeply connected to what's going on in our mind. If we have a healthy body, we have more energy to deal with the turmoil of the average day. I think this is very important. Good sleep is something that helps a lot too, making sure that your engine is in check, and then you can deal with other problems too. In the past, I think the biggest issue I have as a person is that I am very, very addicted to productivity. And when things aren't moving forward, I tend to beat myself up pretty badly. Especially because in my line of work, when you're working with a team, you are spending 70 hours a week with the players, and then a bunch of other hours without the players. You're spending a lot of time with the players, and you need to always be, the role model for what the emotional state of mind should be, right? So you're suppressing a lot of things, and you have to digest them in your own time. And when things aren't moving forward, that can be, rough for a person that is addicted to productivity. Like, I like when things are moving forward. I always want to be in a state of, progression. And what helps me when the things that I want to progress don't progress, I try to have visual progression. And for me, cleaning up, there's something about cleaning up, just seeing things move somehow, seeing progression in front of me is something that always helps. I think in terms of what I'm actively doing, I think, in the past, it was way more frequent where I found myself in very, very deep holes of despair. Now, in order to not get into that place, experience helps, understanding myself helps, exploring yourself, meditation, understanding your state of mind and how to manage your emotions, and good sleep and good diet, and also very limited intake of reading news and YouTube and Twitter and all of this jazz. Just allow yourself to take a break every now and then, because it is very difficult to take a break. You know, taking a break meaning you step away from everything and you just do nothing for a moment. That to me is very important and also therapeutic, and whenever I want to start over, I kind of just take a step back and I relax. Hopefully this is helpful. I think for everyone it is always different, and I think the key thing is to explore options. You know, I think there is no shame at all in seeking help, the same way someone would have a physical trainer in a gym or a nutritionist or something else. It is the same thing to have a psychiatrist, to have someone that makes your mind more efficient towards the goals that you want to achieve. It is exactly the same thing, and we should nurture our mind. It is very, very important, and it is something that positively impacts every aspect of your life when you do yourself a favor and you know, take care of yourself. Endercasts asks, how are you so cool? Man, I've been watching a lot of Ellen, and that's put me on the map. Crastiel asks, do you think your ways of doing things will influence other teams in the league? Like how teams approach the game, draft, etc. I think yes. I think if you're, hopefully, you know, the team is going to become strong enough to be a force where people are going to look at what we do and take ideas from it. I think it's only natural in a world where there's so many different leagues. I think everyone gravitates towards, you know, learning from everyone. I think it would be psychotic almost to not look at other regions and other teams within your region, to learn from them and see what they're doing well and to look at the weaknesses. So I think every team has some kind of impact, and the better you are, the bigger the impact. And I'm hoping that our impact will be great and swift and strong. Crastio, do you think best of 5 should have a blind pick game again? If yes, would you rather have it in game 1 like MSC or game 5 like OGN? I really liked it in game 1. It was very exciting, and there was a big mind game involved, meaning you put everything on the table, you show your priority, you also in a way, you know, get these mirror matchups that we never get to see, and you get to see the true identity of some teams. I think that's super exciting in itself, and I love the concept of, you know, first game blind pick, and it is extra cool because you're in a world where there's, you know, no advantage where one side picks one side specifically or something like that. You know, the loser chooses side next game, and I think that's super cool. Hermes lol, hi Amaro, what do you think makes a good champion pool, and does every player need to know how to play every champion in order to be the best? No, not necessarily. You don't need to play every champion in order to be the best. You need to be, like, the bare minimum is that you play champions, enough champions for you to always be in a position to blind pick, meaning people can't, like a team can't throw 3 bans at you and you can't blind pick, you know? You need to be able to always, you know, have a large enough pool to blind pick. Sometimes you need to use your team's band to set yourself up for that, and that's fine too. And then also, like, stronger players will be able to counter pick too. The more counters you have and the bigger champion pool you have, the more precisely you can pick a champion that suits the entire situation. There are more things that extend past the idea of the lane phase in itself. For example, let's say there's a Darius, and maybe Darius isn't the best example because with the ghost buff, this champion is pretty busted. But let's say there's a specific champion that has 5 counters. You play one, you're going to have a good matchup, but maybe you play the 4 others, and then these other champions are going to interact better with the other champions in the game, right? So this is something that is super important. It's like, let's say the enemy is Camille Sejuani. You can pick Poppy into it, which is going to be fine. You can deny Camille, you're going to lose split later. But imagine in a world where you pick Jax and all of a sudden you have a good interaction with Camille because you can use the E and dodge a lot of damage. And then at the same time, Sejuani struggles to stack her passive onto you because you have the counter strike and they can't apply auto attacks, right? So there's always depth to it, and the bigger champion pool you have, the more options you have, and the better it is. Krana lol. Hi Amaro, looking forward to watching you in the LCK. My question is, why do you think players like Doublelift or Licorice have never tried coming to EU and have a real chance of Worlds and improving? Well, Licorice has done pretty well for himself, right? He's been in semi-finals. But I get your point. I think the key thing here is pay. I think in North America these names are very valuable, but if you compare them to some of the regional names here in Europe, keep in mind having any residency and being an NA player is very, very valuable, especially if you're at the top end of the heap like Doublelift and Licorice. So this is a very, very good opportunity for you in terms of how much money you can make in North America. When it comes to them moving to Europe, the amount of money they're going to have is a lot less. And at the same time, there is, you know, the attraction for teams in Europe to do so when we have a lot of players already is kind of, you know, kind of slim. You know, it's not too exciting. If there was a world where new NA talent was pumped out all the time, then of course Europe would be doing some importing too, but there is just not a good argument for it. There's just not a good argument for it, and I think sure, if Doublelift and Licorice pushed for it, I'm sure they would find a home, but it wouldn't be at a team that would get to the World Championship most likely. So this is where the difficulty comes in. Would they replace, like would Licorice in any world replace Alfari, Whippo or Wunder? No. Would Doublelift replace Perks, Reckless or Upset? Not a chance in hell. There you go. A name that I cannot read out. What do you think of IG currently? They had a very strong regular season but lost some of the playoffs in the MSC. What do you think their weakness is? I think IG is the last bastion of being able to 1v9 games. This is something the Shy and Rookie did even in spring. The thing is, IG's weakness is they're just not a team. Their idea of how to draft is completely lost. I think Rookie and the Shy still can contend for the best player in their respective position. I think Puff is good. I think Southwind is, you know, nothing too exciting, and Ning is Ning. The memes kind of speak for themselves. I just think that they are just not a team. They are not a team. They need a jungler that connects them. They need Jackie Love, they need Karsa, and then they will win the World Championship. But they are with Zoom and Night now, and I mean, sorry, not Zoom, 369 and Night now, and those guys are popping off right now too. Tafne, will you be making any Korean soloQ videos and streams when you arrive? Yeah. Too fat for that. Hey Amaro, what was the first word or sentence that you learned in Korean? Polska górą. One singy. Sauron Squidmane, can we please hear some Korean? I really like learning languages and I would be fascinated to hear a Westerner speak Korean. Well, I just said one singy. I guess I can end with 안녕히 가세요. This is, you know, till next time, have a good night. I'll see you soon. I think that rounds off the AMA pretty well. I'm sorry for the pronunciation, it's far from perfect, but I'm of course doing my absolute best. If you have any questions, please subscribe, slap like, and then maybe I'll answer your question next time if I missed it. Sorry, just re-ask it, and if I see a question enough times, I'm going to, of course, answer it. So it helps to be naggy. Yes. Our YamatoCannon subreddit, Discord, Patreon. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. And I forgot to say, if you sneezed, bless you and bless your mother flipping face and your parents.